report of that, I have no idea. But I do know that according to the figures produced, there were some 383 times the authorities have been involved. So I can't tell you.
Well, let's just deal with the 383. That figure was arrived at by doing a search of words in the files for things like police, authority, and so on.
So the authorities were involved in it?
Well, they may not have been, because what was actually written on the document might have said, do not report to the authorities. The search would have picked up the word authorities, and you've counted in the 383.
Well, even so, the point that I'm making, if you divided the figure substantially, it still is impossible for me to agree that elders have never gone, because I simply don't know. But I do know the authorities have been involved in a number of those cases.
And for several weeks now, you've had those figures and the Royal Commission's analysis of your 1,006 perpetrator files, and you've not found a single case where there was a report by the elders or by the branch, other than where there may have been a mandatory requirement. Well,
I haven't been looking through the cases, and I haven't been looking through the numbers. All I'm saying is a general proposition. To say it's never happened, it may well not even appear in the file to say that the elder went. It may just say that the authorities became involved. I don't know what the circumstances are in every case, and I'm not trying to make a major point out of it at all. I'm just simply saying it's very difficult to say definitively that elders have never been involved in reporting a case, because we just don't have the facts to be able to base that on.
Well,
but in terms of mandatory reporting in those files, that's not the case.
Yes. Well, you'll accept there's no evidence of elders ever having reported other than when they were mandatorily required to do so.
I haven't reviewed all the files, but in simple terms, I assume if that's the way the files read, I assume that must be correct. But I'm not prepared to accept the proposition the elders have never been involved, when in fact I don't have the facts to be able to substantiate that.
Well, just on the files, you may not have searched the files, but you've had the opportunity to do so, haven't you?
Well, for the last little while, I've had hardly the opportunity to do anything in responding to the requests of the Royal Commission. We've been working to bend over backwards to cooperate, and hardly had time to turn around. So that's why I asked someone else if they would do it. That's what they came back and said.
So you did have someone search the files?
Well, did exactly what you've said there on those word things on the files that you had, the figures that you gave us. Yes.
Yes. Well, that's in the correspondence I tendered yesterday.
Yeah.
I'd like to take you to tab 115. You'll see this, the letter from the Australia branch, September 12, 2008, it says Service Committee. As I understand that, that's to the Service Committee of the governing body. Would that be right?
Yes, that would be correct.
And it was from, if you see on the second page, Mr. Moritz, and he preceded you as being the senior lawyer at the branch. Is that right?
No, that's not correct.
Okay, I apologise. Who was he?
This is Harold Vivian Moritz. He's the brother of the person that was involved in the legal department.
Thank you. And he was a member of the branch committee, was he?
Yes, he was.
All right. And was this a letter you were involved in at all?
No.
You'll see in the third paragraph on the first page.
When I say wasn't involved, I didn't write the letter. That's what I mean. I might have had there might have been some discussions with me about certain things, but.
Well, do you remember, were there or were there not?
Yes, there would have been some discussion, but I just didn't draft the letter. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Well, you see it says there, you ask, so that's to the governing body, you, the governing body, ask, or the service committee, about how we propose to track persons who are accused and or disfellowshipped for child molestation and other abuse. We intend to continue doing what we have done in the past, that is, maintaining a list of such individuals along with the necessary details of what transpired. All appointments processed by the service department are checked against the list of names. So there's a list of names, I take it, as referred to there in that letter.
My understanding, this is all done in the service department, but my understanding is they simply use the case files. So they may have a list of case files, but they just use the case files that they have.
So
that's their checking mechanism, as I understand. But I've had no involvement with that at all.
So there is a list of names?
Well, there's a list of cases, the cases that you've got.
Well, there are a number of, there are 1,006 files. We produced our own list. Is there a separate list? I understand that no separate list of the files was produced to us, but I assume that the branch office, in addressing correspondence to the governing body, takes care to be accurate in what they say.
Well, I'm certain.
And would not say that there's a list of names if there wasn't a list of names.
I assume they've just, I've asked the question of the service department, and that's what I've been told, that they simply use the case files. So they possibly have a list of the case files they've got. That would be fairly logical. But beyond that, I can't help you because I'm not involved in that area.
So is there a list of the case files?
Beg your pardon?
Is there a list of the case files?
I don't know.
Well, a subpoena was issued by the Royal Commission. It's subpoena number S-NSW-462 on the, looks like the 28th of May 2015, in which what was sought was in relation specifically to this letter. This letter was identified, and what was sought was a list of all individuals who are accused and or disfellowshipped for child molestation and other abuse, and nothing has been produced. Are you able to explain that?
All I can explain is that on the basis of that summons, we have attempted to comply as fully as possible. My understanding is there is no list as such. They use the case files, what you've got. That's what I've been told.
If there is no list as such, then the branch committee is not putting the facts to the governing body and saying there is a list.
Well, I can't say what they'll put into them. As I said, I wasn't involved.
So I call for the list of names referred to in this document, and perhaps my friend can respond sometime later as to just what the position is.
I'm happy to do so, Your Honour.
I just want to take you specifically to the case of BCG and to tab 38 in volume 1. Now, this is a letter from BCK, and that is BCG's eldest sister. And it's written across the face of it, attention, VIN tool, private and confidential. And it has a fax header of it of 15 October 2002. And the letter itself is dated 13 October 2002. Now, did this letter come to you?
I believe so.
And do you know how it came to you? In other words, did it come to you from BCK, or did it go to someone else and then sent to you?
I don't recall, but I know BCK personally, so I assume it was just faxed to the branch office, but I can't tell you specifically how it got to me.
Yes. And if you read that opening paragraph where she says she's writing about some concerns that she has about her father,
yes.
She says she's concerned that he may still have contact with young children in his congregation and they may be in danger of being abused by him. Perhaps we should just, on the chronology, understand that at the time of this letter, October 2002, BCH had been reinstated having been reinstated in November 1992.
That's what I understand.
And I'm sure not many of his congregation are aware of his attitude towards paedophilia and may unknowingly expose their children to risk. As you are most probably aware, he has had a long history of abusing children, starting with myself when I was very young. And even though after learning the truth from the Bible and bringing his life into harmony with it for a time, he later allowed himself to other incidents. And so she goes on. What did you do in response to this letter, do you recall?
No, I don't specifically recall.
Do you recall that at that time BCH was at the Logan Home congregation?
I don't think I had any idea where he was at that time.
But you would have been able to find out very easily.
Yes, I could.
Yes, and do you recall whether you did find out?
No, I would only say what I would have been my practice, that if I received a letter like this, I would have taken it to the service department, and then they would have dealt with the matter because that's their role.
And if you look at the next tab, tab 39, this is now 10 days later, and again it's addressed private and confidential to your attention from BCK. Did you receive this letter?
Did I?
Receive this letter?
Yes, I did, I believe.
And you see there's a I withdraw that. And you see she says, in my letter dated October 13, 2002, which is the one we've just looked at, I spoke about how my father has abused my two sisters, referring to the younger sisters, one of whom has spoken to me about what my father did to her, and because this matter has not been dealt with, I feel I have an obligation to let you know what she told me. And then she goes on detailing what she'd been told with regard to a very serious sexual assault, you'd agree?
Yes.
Yes. And what did you do in response to this letter?
Again, I don't recall, but my practice would have been just to take that up to the service department.
These are very serious matters that were being brought to your attention, weren't they?
The letter's obviously bringing it to my attention.
And the underlying concern in those letters was a current concern with regard to child safety.
And I was also aware that there was a court case going on at that time involving the very issues that in principle are being raised in these letters.
Yes. Did you follow up with the service desk as to what had been done, whether anything had been able to be achieved?
I don't recall.
Mr. Spinks yesterday explained that the reference on a letter to LLC is a reference to the legal department. Do you agree with his evidence?
Yes, that's right.
Yes. I'll show you tab 40. 40. You'll see this is a letter a week or so later to the presiding overseer at the Logan Home congregation, and the reference is LLC. I take it that came from the legal department.
I've seen that letter. I looked at it in the bundle. That is the symbol that I used. I don't recall writing this letter. I must have had some input into it. It wouldn't have my symbol on top, but I don't disagree with the contents.
Well, what this letter does, Mr. Toole, is it asks the Logan Home congregation to look into the position of BCH and to appoint two elders to approach him and inform him of various things, and he should be asked to explain and so on, as an investigation preceding a possible judicial committee, not so?
based on the fact that he's supposedly, according to paragraph 2, is it, that he's actually on the public record of pleading guilty to these charges.
Now, what this suggests, Mr. Toole, is that what you did in response to the 2 letters is you wrote this letter to the congregation. You didn't take it to take the letters to the service department.
No, I would never deal with a matter. This is a service department matter. But because it's a court case on foot, they no doubt came and discussed it with me. Maybe I produced a rough draft. It was finalised, but anything to do with child abuse is service related.
Mr. Toole, this letter carries your reference and it deals with legal matters. You seem to be trying to distance yourself from it and suggest that this came from the service department.
No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm saying it would have gone through with the approval of the service department, that's all.
Yes, with the approval of the service department, but sent and signed off by you.
Well, I never signed the letter. It would have gone through the service department out to the congregation.
Approved by you.
Well, it would, if I drafted the letter, the whole of the letter, I would have been happy with it, but when it went to service, they may well have wanted to revise various aspects of it.
You mean to say the way in which your office runs is that the letters with your reference on them that you didn't approve?
Anything at all to do with child abuse, that's dealt with by the service department.
Well, that can't be so, because this letter and many others in the bundle here have LLC or LLD and so on.
Yes, that's true.
Yes.
That's true, but it all goes back through the service department because they're the ones responsible for dealing with these matters. Now, they might have had some legal input or some input from the legal department, but nevertheless, it all goes back through there because they're responsible. We are really just assisting them in relation to what they're doing.
And in assisting them, this is the way forward that you were party to. In other words, writing to the congregational elders and telling them what they should do. Is that right?
Well, in this particular instance, that seems as clearly what the letter's saying to do, yes.
And there's nothing in here about investigating the safety of children in that congregation from BCH and taking any steps that might be required.
No, there isn't.
Yes.
But it is asking them to directly address a very serious matter.
Well, if we take a look at tab 41,
Yes?
You'll see in January of 2003, you wrote on the face of it, a memorandum from you. It says legal-v tool to the service department.
Yes, that's correct.
This did actually come from you, this one.
Yes, no question about that. I remember that.
And dealing further with this question of BCH and his history in the Jehovah's Witness Church, not so?
Yes.
And you conclude at the end, if we can look at page 3. You'll agree that you identify the concern now is not about the child sexual abuse itself, but about whether BCH is lying about it.
No, I disagree entirely.
Explain why.
The issue here, right at the very outset of that memorandum, it spoke about some documents that had been shown to me. I don't know what they are, I can't remember, so obviously it was discussing something that had transpired from the committee up there. But what I'm saying here is the primary issue is this man is lying about abusing his daughter. This man has already admitted to abusing his daughter and now he's denying it. Like, that's the context of this particular memo, is to show he's lying about abusing his daughter.
Well, I thought that's what I put to you, that the principal issue you determined there is, it says, the last line, your conclusion, the primary issue for the present committee is the charge of lying.
No, but you didn't actually put it to me quite that way. That's not what I said. That's what you said. I said he's lying about abusing his daughter, not just simple lying. He's actually lying about abusing his daughter. So the context, it's the lie in the context of abusing his daughter. Like, this is really serious. This man had abused his daughter. shockingly,
Plural.
he'd admitted it,
Daughters.
and then now he's compounding the whole thing by now going back and denying that he actually abused his daughter.
Well, I have to say, I find it very hard to see the lying about it nearly as serious as the fact of the abuse itself.
Well, the fact of the abuse itself is incredibly serious.
But more to the point, why was this a legal matter?
I presume service had come and asked me some questions about it, so I sent them back that memo, really quite clearly showing this man's history, but what he'd actually done, according to what elders had said, and just making sure they were very aware of this man's shocking behaviour and his denial of all this.
Because it's not clear, to me at least, why a person lying to congregational elders about conduct that he's been engaged in is a legal matter or a criminal matter.
I think the situation was the service department would have been very conscious of the fact that this man's in the middle of a court case, and they would have obviously come to sort of raise it in that context. But please, whatever you do, don't conclude that this wasn't a serious matter. The context of that is this man had admitted to abusing his daughter, and now he was denying that he actually did it. He's actually compounding the treatment he'd given to his daughter.
The conclusion I suggest is that you take the lying about it more seriously than the abuse itself.
Absolutely not.
Those are my questions for this witness.
Does anyone else have any questions?
I have a few, Your Honour.
A few?
Yes, Your Honour. Hi.
I see more people rising. I think we might take the morning in German then.
Yeah, Dr. Jason Morrison, theologist again. I just want to say thank you for watching the videos, and I hope you got plenty of self-rediscovery and freedom out of it. If you watched it on YouTube, please share or like, maybe even comment. If you watched it on Facebook, like, comment, share. But most of all, get out and live. This isn't a rehearsal. You've got a one-off life. Don't let your loyalty and your faithfulness blind you to the life that you should be experiencing. Till the next video, thank you for watching, and bye for now.